What up, everybody? I'm here today to talk about scuba diving and how I got into it, especially because I'm from a landlocked state. So it's probably the number one question I get anytime I meet someone new or even someone who hasn't seen me in a while. It's always like, how did you get into diving? Aren't you from Montana? Like, is there diving in Montana? Those are the questions I get asked. So to to be honest, it didn't start with the ocean. It actually started in the rivers and the lakes around Montana and in Minnesota. I did see the ocean a couple times when I was little, visiting some family in California. But for the most part, I spent most of my time in the water, like I said, in the rivers and lakes. As a kid, I loved swimming. So I was in swimming lessons. I did a ton of swimming courses growing up, and I was always in the water. Like you could not get me out of the water. If there was a pool, if there was a river, if there was a lake, I was in it. And one of the fondest memories I have is there's a lake in Minnesota that my grandparents lived on called Lake Lida, land of 10,000 lakes. And um if you were there certain times of the year, it was iced over, so you couldn't even swim, but we were always there in the summer. The water was still cold, but I was in it. The only time I would like be too afraid to get in it is when my brother and sister were there, and they would basically scare me because they would tell me that I was going to get leeches on me. So, and that only usually happened if you were too close to the dock. For some reason, the leeches liked the dock. But once I got a little more advanced in my swimming and started wearing goggles and could go underwater and like dive for things and see things, I feel like I got much more comfortable going underwater because then it's like I could see what was down there. And then as I got older, I ended up actually being a lifeguard and a swim instructor. So again, like I was in the water a lot, teaching, watching over the patrons, but spending most of my time near the water. And one thing that I there was never like a real moment in high school or college that I was like, oh, I want to scuba dive. I just remember seeing like videos underwater, photographs from underwater of coral reefs and things. And I remember thinking like, oh, that'd be cool. But it was always kind of like this passing thought. I don't remember ever really thinking like, I'm gonna do that someday, you know? And then when I was in my late 20s, and I was living in Jackson, Wyoming. We had off seasons, so I took this big trip to Bali. Bali's an island in Indonesia. It's has a wonderful culture, wonderful destination. And the person I was traveling with, was kind of giving me a list of like all the things we could do. There was like hiking, there was biking, there was renting motorbikes, and there was scuba diving. And as soon as he said the words, I feel like I just jumped on it. I was like, wait, scuba diving? What? And the deal was we could go to the island of Gili Trawangan, and short, they call it Gili T for short. And the deal was you could do your open water course and get free accommodation, I think, for a few days or a week. So we jumped on it, took a ferry over, and spent about a week doing our open water course. And we ended up doing some extra dives afterwards because I was having so much fun. And the one thing I remember is, the first couple days weren't fun. Like you're a total noob in the water. I was like, I'm so used to water. I'm a great swimmer. I love the water. I love floating in it. I love all the activities of the water. Well, the first couple days, it's like you're learning the equipment and it's uncomfortable and it's weird and your buoyancy sucks. And I was like, oh, I don't even know if I like this. So the first couple days were kind of sucky because you feel like this total noob and you feel like you're not good at it because you're just learning it. You're not going to be good at it. But thankfully, it's one of those sports where like it doesn't take very long to catch on and pick it up. So finally, by like the end of our course and probably the next couple dives we did just for fun, I was feeling super confident and I loved it. And the thing I loved is I could see everything. Suddenly, it's like I could go under. It's not like the lakes in Minnesota where you go under and you're like, oh my God, a leech is gonna get me. Suddenly you go underwater and it's like, especially in Bali, you can see for like what feels like a mile away, just clear waters. You can see coral reefs and all this stuff. And one of the best stories from that time when I learned how to do scuba diving was that we saw manta rays on probably like our maybe our fifth dive. We saw manta rays, and the instructor was like, banging her tank, and she's like, look, look, look. And I'm like, oh, cool, manta rays. And then I was like, yeah, what's next? And the funny part is like it's it's not often, especially I guess in that area, you don't always see manta rays, right? So it was a huge deal to see these manta rays. And I'm just thinking, oh yeah, cool, what's next? And then I love that story because when I became an instructor in scuba diving, I had a student, and probably on his third dive of the course, we saw a whale shark, and we were in Thailand. And I'm like, look, look at the whale shark. And I want to hang out with this thing all day. Everybody wants to hang out with it. Like, seeing a whale shark is super rare, especially underwater. So this guy, I remember, because he like looked at it and he's like, oh, cool. And then he looked away, like, what's next? And I was like, yep, that was me. That was me. Developing that love of the underwater was just incredible. And the more dives I did, the calmer I got. And like I said, I have so many stories from being an instructor. And I love being an instructor because I bring people from that stage of like, oh, this sucks, I don't want to do it anymore, to, oh, I'm pretty good at this. And it's just a great feeling to bring people into something that I love. I love scuba diving and I love the ocean and I love how every dive is a surprise. Like you go to certain dive sites and it's like sometimes we see this, sometimes we see that. But like, so it's always a surprise. Like sometimes there's things on the dive site that they don't ever see. And all of a sudden, like you see it that day and you just get lucky. And so it's kind of like this gamble, but just the feeling of being underwater is what is so amazing for me. It's calming, it's meditative, it's, and you don't have to work hard at it. It's just, you just have to be there and enjoy it. So that's how I became a scuba diver living in a landlocked state. I highly suggest if scuba diving is something you've wanted to try or have thought about, or it excites you just right off the bat. If you're traveling, especially to an ocean area, it's such a nice activity to do if you have some time to do the full open water course. If you don't have that much time, there's a course called like Discover, well, it's not a course, but it's called Discover Scuba Diving, and it's basically just like a try dive. They teach you a few skills so you know how to use the equipment, and then they take you on a little dive and show you how amazing the underwater is. So yeah, if it sounds like a good time, I feel like you should try it. Thanks for joining. See you next time.